Good evening, Tuesdays with Toni. I've had some technical difficulties on top of a troubling day. I don't have my water even. Tonight it's hard. Tonight's hard for me because I had a bit of an emotional exchange today with someone that I love with all my heart. And what it showed me and reminded me of is that I long for perfection. I long for heaven where we will live well, love well, communicate even better, and be with our Savior, of course, because of all that He's done. We get to be perfect and be with Him in heaven. But it's so hard here on earth in these times and with this sin in my body that still likes to rear its ugly head. I think rare would be more like a steak, really red. So my sin likes to rear its ugly head, but sometimes actually it's not just sin. It really is the desire of my heart to do well, and it is the desire of my heart to say things better than what I say them sometimes. And sometimes I'm also very well aware that what I said actually was okay, and that sometimes it's the way they're actually taken, but sometimes it really is that I've said them wrong. So there's so many things to deal with in that. And so I wrestle. I wrestle with this desire for perfection, to be in heaven with the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. To see my bill again, to love perfectly. So I didn't love perfectly today, even though my heart and the intent was to do well. And it made me feel those feelings of the desire for perfection. And I think God has put that in all of us. And some days it's just more real than others. Some days I just long for it more. And so what it did remind me of is a card that my sister Tam gave me right after my husband Bill passed away. And so this would have been in February of 2017. And I'm going to read it all to you, although it doesn't really particularly apply to this message tonight. But there's a part of it that really speaks to my heart about how I'm feeling now, about perfectly loving. And I hope it speaks to yours too, because the words are beautiful. And if you're grieving over any loved one, and if you're just sad some days about how ineffective we are and how we miss the mark, then maybe this message is for you in some of the areas too, but it really was for me tonight. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to hold it up here. I'm going to look, and I'm going to read what my sister wrote me just days after my husband passed away. This is for the darkest of days, when your heart is worn and tired from grieving, so much so that you think it's impossible to grieve, weep, or wail any longer. But you do. When you know that your Savior, me, and many others are here for you, but we are not what you long for. When you think that this sorrow will consume you and you will never exist outside of it again, know this. You are still deeply and passionately loved by your wonderful Bill. You may not have access to him in heaven, but he still knows you. He now loves you with the most perfect of loves, what he could not accomplish in his life on earth, though he tried. He can now do. He will love you completely, selflessly, perfectly. He is now like Jesus, a great lover of your soul. He has died, but he will never stop loving you, and neither will I. That's from my sister Tam. Let me get a tissue. Boogers may be unbecoming in a video. So I kind of titled this Longing for Protection, Longing for Perfection, Desiring to Love Well. Or what I was hoping for and trying to say versus what was heard. And we can't always perfect our words. We cannot always perfect the hearer's ears. We will not perfect anything in our lives here. But Jesus Christ has paid the price for us to be perfect in heaven. This side of heaven, we will miss the mark. The other side of heaven, we will make the mark. All because of what Christ has done for us. And so I long for healing and restoration, and I pray for that, and I will pray continuously. I know one day it will all be perfect. And so I encourage you to love the best you can, even though it's not perfectly, and know that this is just a season here on this earth, and that when we get to heaven, it will be way better, way more better, way more better. And I long for those days. God bless you. Have a blessed week, and be encouraged. I know I am.